2004. Let me see, February. Kind of trying to go month by month here. Yeah, because by this point in time, the older of the two kids was learning to walk and starting to talk a little bit too. And I remember we used to put it on the radio, and every time they were playing Fields of Gold by Sting a lot then. And every single time that song came on, like, she would start bouncing back and forth from one foot to the other. She really liked that song. Her dad even mentioned that at some point, like, hey, she likes that song. It's like, yeah, it's kind of cool. It's always weird. She probably wouldn't remember that. Because my dad always tells me that my favorite song as a kid was this song called I Believe by Steve Perry. But I've tried listening to it like several times in the last like 10 or 15 years, and I never recognize it. Like, I have no memory of it. So maybe it's the same with the kid in Fields of Gold, like, you know, whatever. My earliest memory of a favorite song is Music Box Dancer by whoever. I don't actually know who does it. It's horrible of me. Anyway, well, we got 68 here. Time is passing by, though. Yeah, so it wasn't really, I mean, 2004, you know, like I said. So basically, around 2004, I was starting to get really popular on E-Pinions. Like, I would say 2003 was probably my biggest year on E-Pinions. In 2004, it was just carrying over. And eventually, one of my friends on E-Pinions, his name was Mike. Which, again, I'm not going to say any more than that. Besides, that's a really popular name, so that's not going to give anything away. Anyway, well, he wanted to meet me, and so did this other girl, Christina. So we had agreed that we were going to somehow try to make that happen. And for my birthday, on April 5th, 2004, they actually bought me plane tickets to fly to New York to meet Mike. And Christina was going to fly there, too. She ended up not getting to come, so just to nip that in the bud. But I still got to meet Mike, which was really cool. Because, I mean, I had known this guy for like 2 or 3 years. We had been writing music reviews side by side on E-Pinions. He was really good, too. He was a good writer. Like, I'm sure he still is. I mean, he could write a music review like you wouldn't believe. And, anyway, I finally got to meet him. I got to fly out to New York and meet him. And, meanwhile, I was also dropping hints left and right on E-Pinions about my living situation and how angry I was about it. There was a movie, actually, that came out called House of Sand and Fog, and I equated my situation to that movie, even though really there's nothing even remotely similar about it. I think my last review of 2003 actually was The House of Sand and Fog. Anyway, it's a pretty good movie. It's intense, though. It's like really intense. But it's very good. But anyway, it's back to where was I? So April of 2004, I flew out to New York to meet Mike. And to make a long story short here, I don't guess it really is a long story anyway. Anyway, he was gay. And also, he had a crush on me. He basically openly admitted it. So while I was staying with him, you know, and he knew that I wasn't the same way and that I could never return his affection in the same way he would have liked. And I never did. Like, there was a point where we were laying, I mean, we did some semi, you know, affectionate stuff. We basically slept in the same bed, but like, geez. I mean, guys do that in the military all the time, and that's not a big deal. But we actually held hands a couple times, you know, and we, I don't know, rub each other's heads or something. I don't know. We didn't, like, touch each other anywhere or anything like that, but okay, thanks a lot, dude. That was very nice. Alright. Anyway, we didn't do anything, you know, anything like that, don't worry. Or why do I say don't worry? Like, what big a deal would it have been if we did? We were this close to kissing. One night we were laying in bed and we were looking, like, right at each other. Our faces, like, no more than a foot away from each other. And, I was actually looking him in the eye, too. I mean, he made me extremely comfortable. because he was so kind and so understanding, and he just got me in ways that a lot of people never could. He understood my music tastes and, you know, my descriptions and everything and all that. So anyway, we were laying in bed. He actually asked me if I would kiss him, and I said no. So I didn't. We never did. And sometimes, even now, I wonder if I shouldn't have taken him up on it, because that's the only chance I've had in 40 years of getting kissed. It's like, at this point, at least I would know what it was like. You know, but, well, I mean, maybe the thing is I wouldn't know what it was like, because I probably would have found it totally gross. I don't know. Anyway, when I had to leave, he was really sad to see. He was actually crying on the day I left, and I felt so bad. And I came home and I wrote this beautiful diatribe about, you know, our visit. And I talked about how I went to see the World Trade Center, and I met this other girl, Jane. Actually, I'd probably say the most intense part of the trip for me was meeting Jane. Now, see, I didn't mention this. Jane is actually a girl that I knew from the Riddick community in Talk City back in 2001, or actually, I think it was all the way back to like 1999, actually. We hung out in Riddick together, and we were so good at that game that the two of us alone once took out a team of 6 opposing players. We were just that awesome. So, and ever since then, I'd always kind of felt a connection to her. And she was a huge Buffy fan. She was always telling me, you gotta watch Buffy. And so actually, when the season 3 finale aired, I watched it. I watched the season 3 finale on TV, on cable, the night that it premiered, the very first time it was shown. So, and I didn't understand much of what was going on. She explained most of it to me. So I was able to keep up, and then I was able to talk to her about it, and it was cool. So every time I see Faith, you know, falling into that garbage truck and driving away, it's like, oh, she got away. Even though I like didn't know anything about it, I was all like, oh, she got away. It's like, good Lord, man. Anyway, but yeah, I knew her from then, and I'd spent a lot of time talking to her. I even recorded some of our conversations on the VCR, some of our chat conversations, because I was still using Web TV at the time. So, but I'll tell you what, though, it was cringy. It's cringy as hell to watch those now. I used so many of those stupid smiley faces. I was like, dear God, stop with the smiley faces already. Stop trying to look sensitive. Stop trying to be so nice. It's sickening, you know? It's like, you know how something can be too sweet? It's like, that's how I was. And oh my God. Yeah, so I actually got to meet Jane in New York because she lived in Brooklyn. So it was crazy how we actually, like, when I met Jane in New York, basically we kind of, like, I never found out she had a boyfriend or anything like that. I assumed she did. She had to. She was pretty beautiful. I don't remember what corner, what street it was even on. But we met and we hugged, and we basically, I offered to hold her hand as we walked down the city streets, and she took it, and I held her hand as we walked together. And I know Mike must have been jealous, but, like, I mean, I don't know. What can I say? Anyway, trust me, holding hands is extremely powerful. Like, that evokes a lot of feelings, too. And if you haven't done that part of it, you should definitely check it out. I mean, not much happened. We basically ate out together. Me and Mike and Jane did. And thankfully, he was able to carry the conversation, so I couldn't do shit. I think the only thing I even asked her was, how much do you pay for rent here? You know? Like, I didn't know what to say. I just, God, it's so good. I couldn't think of anything. It's like, what do you ask? Oh. I don't know. Why am I so bad at that? I just didn't know what to say. So, you know, thankfully he was there to lead most of the conversation, and I jumped in here and there with a witty rebuff or you know, a joke of some sort. As we were holding hands, I felt so powerful. I just felt so proud. Like, I wanted people to see us and think, oh my gosh, you know, they look totally cute together or something like that. I I just felt proud. Like, I felt proud that this was the girl I was walking with, and I wanted people to see that. I know that doesn't mean nobody cares. You know, it's like you see people holding hands, it's like, what's the big deal? You don't know him, you don't know her, or you don't know them. So it's like, well, what's the big deal? But when you are one of those people and you do know them, it's like, that's how it feels when you really, really, really love somebody, is you're so proud that you want to hold their hand in front of other people. You want people to see you with them. You want people to be able to look and say, hey, like, I mean, not necessarily she's mine, because that sounds possessive, but at the same time, it's like, you know, you're proud because it's like, I mean, I guess from the point of view of a 28-year-old virgin, you know, getting a girlfriend at all would be something to be proud of. So I wanted people to look at me and say, oh, look at that, he did it, you know, or people to look and say, oh, good for him, you know, he found one, or good for him, he did it. Whether or not it's true, I mean, that doesn't matter, because they're never going to see you again. But in the moment, you could say you walk down the sidewalk with a girl in your arms, or holding a girl's hand, and just got to be a part of the world, you know? Got to be a part of that 1%, you know, people who just did it, you know? I know it's more than 1%, but still, you know, just to be able to say, hey, well, look at this, I did it, I impressed someone, I was good enough for someone. You know, and you can't imagine, like, how awesome that feels, you know, when you spend your whole life just being alone and not having anything to show for yourself. Yeah, well, so, you know, me and Jane stayed in touch for a couple months after that, but after a while, just kind of, we just grew apart. And, yeah, so then this other person on ePinions, oh, well, what do I even call this person? I got two things that I could call her. One is her real name, the other is her part of her ePinions name, but I don't really have the nerve to use either one. Maybe I'll just call her Dee Dee. Dee Dee seems good. Anyway, well, she offered me to come live with her because she was aware of my living situation and how unhappy I was with it and everything. So she made an offer to me and Mike and said, well, you know, you guys come live with me because I have this huge house here, and you know, down in Virginia. And so me and Mike talked about it. Actually, part of the reason we met up in New York was to talk about that, to discuss that offer and whether or not we should take it. And we were both pretty much in agreement that we were going to take it. So we had decided we were going to make this move, but we really weren't certain about it until like the middle of April. You know, and she wanted me to move down there on May 1st. I can't remember why I had to move on May 1st, but I did move on May 1st. I'm trying to figure that whole situation out, because I know Mike was going to be coming on July 1st. That was the only date, like that was the date he was going to come down, to move down to Virginia, was July 1st. And I was going to move down on May 1st. It was either that or November 1st, and it had to be one or the other. Because, well, that's what it was. My lease was up on May 1st. Yeah, because I moved in May 1st of the previous year. So I didn't have that many options. Like, I didn't want to pay a month-by-month lease, even though that's what I should have done. So I had to tell them, you know, I was moving. I told the landlord, and she wasn't happy about it, but anyway. So I got all my stuff together, and I was lucky I was able to do it. I had to tell people in the bakery that I was leaving, and I didn't want to do that, even though I wasn't like crazy about it there, and whatever. It was just hard. Oh, and I didn't even mention Michelle. Oh my God, Michelle was my biggest reason not to leave. She was my biggest reason not to go to Virginia. Everything else, I was just screaming for me to go there. I wanted to, you know, have friends in real life. I wanted to not have to pay all the rent if I didn't have to. I was just tired of everything in my life. Everything in my life, I was sick of it. And all these thoughts about how great it would be if I could just move to Virginia. I'd have a friend that was my age, and we'd have a common interest, and we could do stuff together, hang out together, and play together. You know, and also Dee Dee, she would be with us too. So there'd be three of us, and we could all exchange information about our ePinions, views, and stuff like that. We have our own little office, you know. like ePinion Central here, because we were 3 of the most popular riders on there. So we definitely, you know, had a thing going there, something going. So we were making some decent money from the riding too. By decent money, I mean basically about $100 a month, but still, for ePinions, that was pretty good. Anyway. So yeah, how you looking here? 904, huh? This is getting pretty hot and heavy. The other thing, my car. I didn't tell this story. I had a car that I bought from Josh's mom a few years back. It was kind of a clunker, but it got me where I was going and everything like that. One day, the brakes on this car went out as I was exiting the highway. I was on the off-ramp doing 40 miles an hour, and the brakes died. The brakes went out. I just felt it go to the floor. The brake pedal just went straight to the floor. And I wasn't slowing down, and I was like, oh, fuck. I was scared out of my mind. I don't even know. I don't even remember being that scared, but I must have been. Surely I must have been. I guess at that point it was like, well, what the hell am I going to do? Be scared? Why be scared? What's the point? What does that accomplish? I don't know. I guess I've always kind of felt that way. But holy crap. So I go barreling down this off-ramp. I got like, I don't know, 1,000 feet. It's 500 feet to go. So even though the brake pedal is all the way down to the floor by itself without me pushing it, I didn't know what else to do. So by instinct, I just tried to push it anyway. And somehow there was still something there, just a tiny little bit of space that I could push it down and slow down the car. It wasn't anywhere near as good as actual brakes, not even close, but it slowed down the car. It's starting to get rainy out here, isn't it? I think it's getting dark. Looks like that picture of like Carol's house in Virginia. Or should I say, you know, Fiery Red Hair's mom's house. Yeah, look at all this, man. Yeah, so somehow I was able to bring the car to a stop at the light, and then when I started going again, I parked it in the first place I could find, which was a car repair shop, and I thought, oh, this is perfect. I'll just leave it here. But they weren't open yet, so I just walked the rest of the way to my house. So I get home, and not even a minute later, not even a minute after I walk in the door, I get a phone call, and it turns out to be that car place. And they're saying, is that your car out in the parking lot? And I'm like, yeah. And I tried to explain to them that the brakes went out. They're like, well, you need to move it. And it's like, fuck you, man. Like, did you even hear what I said? You know, but it's like, this is what, I don't know, man. There's even more of this shit. It's just, it's like, well, you need to move it, you know. It's just, I can't even, like, that is like, every time I can't even finish a sentence that is so, the utter and total absurdity of all that. It's about to start raining here. I can't believe this. Anyway, yeah, my brakes were out. So anyway, so I went up, I walked back over there, and I got my car, and I limped it down to the parking lot at the mall that was behind my apartment complex, and I just parked it there. And then I never touched it again after that. I left it there with a balloon that I bought at the mall 3 years prior, still sitting in the back seat of it. And that was it. So I ended up going to see my dad at the where he worked. He worked at the car dealership, and he was able to get me a deal on an Oldsmobile Intrigue 2001 tan colored for $4,000. And I was like, holy God, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened. So the payments on it were basically $97 a month. So I got off so easy. And it had a CD player in it, so it's the first time I've ever been able to like listen to CDs in the car. And man, oh man, I just enjoyed the hell out of that thing for that last couple of months. Because I was like actually in March when that happened, so I had the car for a couple of months before I moved to Virginia. But yeah, it was nice. It was a nice car. I ended up keeping that car until just last year, actually. So I had it for 11 years. It's the best car I ever had. So anyway, this car is pretty freaking nice too, though, I'll tell you what. So far. I'm loving it. It's, anyway. God, the color of this all is so weird right now. You can see this is ridiculous. Anyway, I'm just going to hold the camera for a little bit. So you're going to be crooked naked for a little bit there, but maybe be able to see more butts. Anyway, yeah, so it's like I was saying before, everything in my life, I was sick of it. I was sick of my job, I was sick of my home life, I was sick of not having any friends, I was sick of going to the movies, I was sick of the freaking weather, holy crap. I was sick of Becky, I was sick of everything, but there was one thing that I wasn't sick of, and that was Michelle. She was just this random cashier girl that started working there, and I know I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again. One night, we were sitting in the break room, and she just started pouring her heart out to me about how tough life was coming down on her, and I just, I listened to her, and I didn't know what else to do. But eventually, when I got up to leave, I just asked her if she wanted a hug, and she got up and she gave me one. And I mean, it went on for like a solid minute, that hug did, and she just held me like there was nothing else in this world. And that is without a doubt, I think maybe the tightest anybody's ever hugged me in my life. I don't know. It was intense. All I know is I basically, I went back into the bakery that morning trembling from head to foot, literally trembling all over. And I couldn't stop. For at least an hour and a half, I couldn't stop. And it was crazy, man. Yeah. It's trying to rain a little bit here, but I don't think it's going to, because it looks like we're coming back out of it already. I think we just hit the tip of it there or something. Starting to pick up a little bit of traffic here. I'm going to go ahead and stop this before it gets to 20 minutes, but anyway. Yeah, so, sometimes I wonder, though, if I hadn't left, what would have happened with me and Michelle. Yeah, he's still there? Yeah, I had to turn on the wipers there for a second. Yeah, like I said, though, who knows what would have happened with me and Michelle if I'd stayed. Because I had this feeling, maybe, I don't know, I had this weird feeling that maybe something could have happened there between us. But I'd already told Dee Dee I was moving down to Virginia to live with her, and I'd already promised Mike I was going to move down there so we could be together and all. So I didn't want to pull back on that. I had to do it. I'd already committed to it. But it wasn't until after that all the stuff with Michelle happened. All this happened so fast. And Michelle was actually another girl that I actually called her by her name a couple times. When I was just saying hey to her and this and that, but it was but man, she was something else. I'm trying to think of who she looks like, because everybody looks like her. She looked like Keira Knightley, basically, but she was sweet too. She was just, every time I always looked forward to seeing her. And then on the very last day before I left, she came over and got me a little stuffed toy dog, plushy dog, which I still have, and a card, which I also have, that said, "Keep on writing, I think you're brilliant." And that was the first I heard. I didn't realize that she knew I was a writer, but she must have somehow heard about my EPN reviews. And that's why she said that, I guess. I don't know. Either that or she might have found the live journal I was posting at the time under the name Darius27, which you can't even find that on the Wayback Machine now. It used to be there, now it's not. So it's oh, good lord. Yet another thing that disappeared. Anyway. Well, this thing's almost up to 20 minutes, so I think I'm actually going to stop there. And we'll cliffhang just before the move to Virginia. And we can talk about that as we drive back home next Monday. So, yeah, because I must have gone for an hour and 40 minutes here. I don't even know. So, take care, everybody. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you again on what I guess is going to be part 6. I'm pretty sure this is not going to be all one part. So, see you guys later.